Let's get ready to rumble, baby, as we're into round 9 of the OPO2 finals. And look, guys, sorry, that sounded terrible. Oh, my bad. So, guys, honestly, you're going to have to forgive me. You're going to have to forgive me about what I said happened at table 2. I thought the Zoro won. He had 4 life and 3 white beards or something crazy like that, but somehow, in a way that I can't imagine, where we've ended up with a Kinemon mirror. So. So Kinemon is now going to be going against Kinemon for our finals, and I'm really sorry we didn't see the finality of that game. But Free, how do you feel about it? The green mirror match.
I just feel really, really happy that there's no red in table one. It's unexpected and kind of just awesome.
It is kind of just awesome. But our player on the right with that Digimon homie, he went ahead and was able to defeat the triple Newgate. So that guy's kind of scary, honestly.
You don't need to beat three new gates. You just gotta beat up on the Zoro behind it.
For real. For real, for real. So we're gonna see a double Momo start from both players. It looks like our player on the right did get the favorable going second. Going second in the mirror being really, really solid. I'm assuming as it was in a previous format, keeping one more card in hand is just that good.
How do you feel about going second, but not establishing one of those powerful three drops on two, like they often do? I mean, he didn't have it in hand, but now it's just a tap to Momo, and actually, just based on how the matchup goes, does this Momo attack that Momo? That's interesting.
I mean, it doesn't look like it, but it certainly was a weaker start from the player on the right. Even though he got the second buff, our player on the left, or on the bottom, sorry, on the bottom is just gonna go ahead and Momo Yamato, which seems just like good tempo. I like the fact that our player on the top went ahead and played the Momo and used Momo's effect because that way you played around cards like Yamato. So we were at least able to get a little bit of something for our Momo.
Definitely, in the context of the game compared to how the green on green matchup was in OPO one is completely different in OPO two because you actually want to be aggressive in this matchup because the likelihood of an eight drop kid is very low, at least in how the format looks right now. So actually, there's no detriment to giving extra cards to the opponent because at some point the game has to end, and I think the number of attacks is what determines the winner of this matchup. So
Most certainly. So we're going to go ahead and see a Kinemon ability summon the Okiku for a cost of 2. And then let's see how we finish off this turn. There was a 5 that was swung at life and that the player on the bottom took. So very interesting. We'll see another Momo. Will we tap this Momo? And he does.
what's
I like.
actually key is at what point do players start guarding their life? Because there's something to be said about Odin's just trading back and forth and having to guard a 9k swing. You rather just take it at that point. So how much life you give up versus how much you keep is going to be interesting.
No, it's real. It's this mirror match seems like it's going to be quite a doozy as we see our player Quan going able to grab the Oden. So we already know that we are guaranteed at least in Oden in this game. We also have an Okiku that's already threatening on the board, and if we deal with this Momo, we can just use Kinemon's ability to reduce our Oden for the following turn. So very solid start from both players. Let's see what our player Dylan goes ahead and does with his turn. He's all the way up to 5 non.
Yeah, so odd number of Dawn is actually favorable. I feel like going first is not as detrimental as one might believe, at least on paper, because you can cement a seven drop kid into play first, and that's kind of powerful. But an attack 5 to 5 on Okiku, see if it gets defended, and it does.
All right, but we still have this Yamato, and Yamato could just go down on this Okiku here. And will you give me a 2K?
And I feel if you guarded it the first time, oh,
Oh,
actually, it's Momo.
interesting. Going into the Momo.
And this does
Very
make sense
interesting.
because if the Momo gets to survive the turn and search for a 2K, it's the exact same thing as discarding a 2K to defend the Okiku and then just getting it back. So just straight up dealing with the Momo ensures less card advantage.
And one is a little bit more certain than the other, I guess, is what you're getting at.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, I would have preferred attacking six at Okiku and then doing five leader into Momo if you expected that sort of line of play. It would have taken a little bit more effort out
From
of
your
the
opponent.
yeah to keep the Okiku alive. So
No, most certainly. So we're going back to the top player's turn, and it looks like he's just going to use his ability here. I don't see why we can't establish Odin on this turn.
He's
Oh
on
no, we can't. He's
6.
on 6. Just kidding. I cannot count. So 6, not as good as 7. We'll go ahead and swing 6 at the Yamato, which is going to go ahead and trigger a Paradise Waterfall. Going to go ahead and make the Yamato active.
So the player on the Kinemon on the right could have actually. Oh, and this is pretty nice. So forcing out the Paradise, making the player on the left believe that they were safe, and then going Yamato and not committing on the Okiku feels strange here.
I guess he wants to keep up his own waterfall for any sort of shenanigans that might arise. And now we're down to 3 cards in hand on Dylan's side, where the other player has a guaranteed Odin as well, but he does have board control. That is on the bright side. We have Beji to finish off the turn, which is pretty darn solid. But I think we can, if he goes for this Akiku, is there even a point in defending it? Which we'll see 5 at the Okiku right here, I'm assuming.
With the commitment of Veggie and the fact that there's no Paradise available, I feel like just chip damaging on the Okiku instead of life is optimal for several reasons, namely not giving the opponent on the right extra cards. So I would say this Okiku is just getting attacked a lot this turn.
Yeah, but I think Okiku's just got to go at some point. There's no way, and your opponent plays
And
a
that's
7-drop kid. So 7-drop kid is not bad, but I do not believe it's as good as Odin would be here. Unfortunately, he can't. Being on odds and having too many characters on board is his downfall. It can't really reduce the cost of Odin, and so we're forced with our consolation of 7-drop kid.
arguably, in terms of how the mirror match plays out, they're both interchangeably the same because there's actually less upkeep on the 7 cost kid to just attack for 8 if you're only attacking once.
Hmm.
Because if you're prioritizing card advantage and not allowing the opponent to attack your creatures as opposed to your life, which is at 5 for the right sided player, I would say that only attacking once with Odin and then untapping it for 3 and not attacking a second time is correct, just to keep it safe, and then force the player on the left to give you some amount of cards in hand by attacking life. So I think that it's just based on the context of the game. The 7-drop is just as good as the 8-drop here.
So he goes ahead and swings 5 at the leader, and if Dylan goes ahead and fully commits here, there's something to be said about how Odin can go ahead and just clean up right after. So he's gonna go ahead. He's at 9 Dawn, put in 1 Dawn on the 8-drop, and I think he's gonna tap out for an Odin of his own. So
Yeah.
looking really solid, for Dylan at this point in time. He has 5 characters on board with a Momo, and he's staring down with 3 life to 3 life.
This is the power simply of just going first. You get to attack, cement your position in the early game with a tapper before the opponent gets to, and then at the same time leverage 7-drop into 8-drop before the opponent can, and it's just looking strictly better in terms of positioning. And unless he has another Odin just to contest 2 Odins to basically 2 kaijus to 2 kaijus, whoever has more kaijus always wins. So
No, most certainly. So he's going to go 8 at life here. He's going to go ahead and take that damage, go down to 2 life. He's going to go ahead and activate his Odin.
yeah,
And
and
let's see
now
what he does from here. You can't really afford to like fully go all in, because if your opponent just clears your board, you're left with no hand, no board, and at that point,
there
ooh,
was an argument. You can actually tell that the opponent on the right does not have any more bombs in his hand, or at least does not have a second Odin, because if he would have actually chump blocked with the veggie, gone to. Would he have gone to? Oh, he would still have
no,
2
he'd
cards
still be,
on
yeah,
the
he'd still
table. So,
be, yeah.
so in no scenario could he have summoned another Kaiju unless it was the 7-drop kid. So that's the only hope, is that he would have had that, but now no longer on the table because he put 1 Dawn on Yamato. So just has to win, try to eke out the game with what he has in play.
All right, so he's going to go ahead and put 1 Dawn on the Odin and go for an attack. Go for 9 this time. He's literally just decided, I'm going to fully commit here, put you down to 0 life, and then we're going to see what happens from there on out. He goes ahead and plays.
That
I
is a
cannot
lot.
tell what that is. Is that a law?
Yeah, there's a 5-drop law bouncing back maybe if he wants to keep the Yamato tapping ability in his hand and also develop another threat, maybe an Okiku of some kind, he
I mean,
could
that would
do
be pretty
that.
nice. So he's gonna go law, yeah, as you said, bounce the Yamato and then place down an Okiku. Yeah, cool.
And then
Really solid.
this is actually incredibly powerful because the entire board is full from the left side player. He's at 0 life, indicating that he probably has a lot of air in his hand. And at the same time, he has no space for blockers. So he's going to have to start sacrificing Yamatos in order to play blockers. And he needs at least two because this Okiku is just tapping one of them down. And I believe at 3 life, there is no crackback that can end the game. So I just want to believe that the right sided player straight up wins here. So
Hmm.
we'll see.
Very difficult. Very, very difficult. So it's also interesting to note the fact that like even though Odin is sideways, does Dylan have to respect the Odin or can he I don't know if he can continue to ignore it, but the fact that the Odin is there is so terrifying because let's say you go ahead and clear the Odin, then the Odin summons another Okiku, and we're just in a bad spot because then that Okiku that is summoned would then contest the potential blockers that he has to play in order to keep up the game state. So he's going to go 6 at life, remove a 2K, 6 at life, it seems.
But here we can just take these.
Yeah, he'll take that one. Speaking of take.
Oh, and we know that he has a Yamato in his hand, so he has tap with Okiku, tap with Yamato. No amount of blockers is going to get him out of the situation, and he can go 11-11 with Oden behind that. So,
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think he can go 11-11 with Odin because the
it
Yamato
would
is going to
actually be
go ahead and
10-10,
cost
yeah.
him 4, right? So the Yamato is going to cost him 4. He's going to have 6 available, and I guess he could go 11-11, but he's going to need to put one down on the Okiku. So he's going to swing next turn for like 5, 6, 10, 10. So which is still pretty darn good.
Some amount of surviving from the player with the 7-drop blocker would have to include just it dying in the process of blocking. I would imagine that he can't keep that card safe while also staying alive. So just seems.
That yeah, that's the issue as well. Like that 7-drop Eustace Captain Kid is gonna have to be removed and sort. Like again, he's gonna just be a veggie at the end of the day.
7 cost veggie, inefficient for the most part, but see how many attacks he can make this turn. But at 2 life, there's just no way of actually ending the game.
Yeah, I mean there are ways. It's just requires a lot of like shenanigans. So we'll go ahead and see him take the life here. As you were saying, there's no reason not to take these lives. He still has a lot of Dawn at his disposal. So he's gonna go ahead and swing 8. That's gonna go get blocked, chump
Mhm.
blocked by the 1-drop. He's gonna go ahead and pay a 3 to go ahead and swing again with the Odin.
Notably, at 8, very good number when the opponent is tapped out. And
So he still has 6 available Dawn, right? So what's the worst case scenario? There's no way he can lethal you because he has to like Yamato put everything on Kinemon, which is just 7. And he's gonna go swing 5. I think this is just a free block off the law. Yep.
is there a world you are so far behind that you just go for the Yamato plus 7 all in, hoping that more than half of his hand is blank? I mean,
I don't
doesn't
know, man.
doesn't seem like the winning play, but
Maybe it was the way. So we'll go ahead and see a couple. I mean, and by a couple, I guess 3 blockers. And just like how you
okay.
predicted, our Yamatos have turned into 1-drops, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, but if we do get to untap, we might win. I mean, that goes for both players. So is this final turn from the right sided player? I want to believe it is.
I think we're both at 0 here. We do know that there's a Yamato in Quan's hand, which seems to have just immediately be slammed down. It's going to go ahead and tap insert blocker of your choice here. It does. I don't think it really matters.
So this would actually be a phenomenal position for Cat Viper, as he would have enough to Cat Viper and also untap his Odin.
Yeah, no, Cat Viper here would go crazy, but it's a card that has truly fallen out of favor here. So we're going to go 6 and then use Okiku's effect to once again remove a card. And now he's left with 2 blockers and 5 available Dawn.
He certainly doesn't block this one. You just can't put your opponent on having a Cat Viper in this position. You're too far
Yeah.
behind. So you have to just 6K this one, or 2K, sorry, 2K this one. and go from
Nah,
there.
it's really tough because of the fact that like you want to go higher with the Okiku. There's no way we block with him, no? That seems
He is there absorbing what feels like fireballs coming at you. So definitely. I mean, if you take a value block here, it symbolizes that maybe his hand is a little weaker than we believe, and these blockers are actually the only thing keeping him alive.
he did have 2 up, which signifies a Punk Gibson. And again, correct sequencing in terms of attacks here. He's gonna go ahead and rest this Yamato. So you definitely had to the attack with the Okiku before you did anything here. So pretty solid. And how are we gonna finish off this turn? We'll go 9. I like 9. That's a Beji.
9 is good.
We'll go. Oh man, there's what, 3 cards left?
How large would this attack be? Okay, matching the 7K blocker, I like
I
that.
think 7's pretty nice.
So here, if you sacrifice this, it just means you're dead,
Oh,
right?
so you just 5 with the leader. Oh, sure. Oh, it's just air.
It's
Oh,
a
and yeah, definitely. So good. Congratulations to Kwan for winning the online PPG regional for OPO2 with Kinemon. And that game went pretty quick, and it was very, very scary. It really just came back. And even though the player on the bottom half of the screen, Dylan, looked like he was in a commanding position because he went on the odds and he was able to go like Yamato into 7 drop into 8 drop. The fact that he just had the ability to go Oden first allowed him to put more pressure than his opponent could. And then, yeah, the game crumbled very, very quickly.